Good morning, everybody. My name's Senator Tony Strickland, 36th District out of Huntington Beach. Governor Gavin Newsom earlier today said he's going to save democracy, but he's saving democracy by having no more democratic elections in California. The bottom line is we do have the gold standard here in California on how to do redistricting. And he almost reminds me like a little child. When I talk to my little child, when my little child says he did something wrong, my child said, well, Johnny, my friend, did it, so I should be able to do it. And regardless of the case, at the end of the day, we should be promoting what we do here in California to the nation, because we have the gold standard here. Look what we have here in California, what Governor Newsom wants to get rid of. We have a nonpartisan Citizens Redistricting Commission. Full transparency, where the lines are drawn in public through hundreds and hundreds of community around the state hearings. What Gavin Newsom wants to do is get rid of that transparency. No one can tell me today who drew those lines. And it was my leader that pointed out, that was reported in the media today, that one of the members here in the Senate said he wouldn't vote for it, and it was reported in the media, unless you change the lines so he can run for Congress. That's exactly what the people didn't want in California. And at the end of the day, that's a violation of the current Constitution. The current Constitution says that no legislator can influence a map. So the question we should all be asking, what legislators have seen these maps and adjusted these maps, because that's a violation of our Constitution. So let's be clear. Governor Newsom, this is nothing more than a power grab. It's a gamble. And we as Republicans here in Sacramento say we want nonpartisan citizens redistricting for the whole country. And it is the role model that we have. Now, my experience, Gavin Newsom and his cohorts have said this is only temporary. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been here long enough to know almost everything they say is temporary is permanent. Remember those temporary tax increases that went up? They became permanent. And by the way, do your research. The Golden Gate Bridge toll was supposed to be temporary. You're still paying the toll. So, and my understanding is one of the members already said this morning on the other side that they would like to make this permanent after they pass it in 2030. So don't let the voters be fooled. I will tell you, I don't believe that this is going to be temporary, and I'm saying the people of California should not be fooled and understand that this, if it passes, will get rid of democracy in California. It's not good for Democrats, Independents, and Republicans, because what will essentially happen is we won't have any more fair elections. We won't have any close elections in California. So what it's saying is legislators don't want you to have a voice. Elections should be about the policies that you do, sell those policies to the people of California, and earn the trust of your district. And that's why we want the current system, because the voters get to decide who's in Sacramento and who's in Washington, and the politicians don't get to decide who they represent. And that's against democracy, and that's why I believe the people of California will reject this Newsom-powered gamble. Thank you.
I understand you just heard from the Democrats. What is this, their 10th press conference in a span of a week, with all sorts of misinformation, trying to fool California voters into thinking that they're protecting democracy. Let me be very clear, what's happening in this building is a direct attack on our democracy here in California. Gavin Newsom and Sacramento politicians have never supported the Citizens Independent Redistricting Commission. They opposed it in 2010. They have been lying in wait for this moment. They are trying to use the hatred for Donald Trump and what's happening in Texas as their corrupt vehicle to get what they've always sought, the power back to manipulate districts so that they get to choose the voters versus the voters choosing the politicians. Make no mistake about it. What's happening in this building is pure corruption. It is illegal. It is unfair. And I believe that Californians, whether they are Democrat or Republican or somewhere in between, Californians are fundamentally fair people. And they are going to reject this scheme because they will see through it. And Gavin Newsom not only is trying to play on people's hatred of Donald Trump and this sideshow happening in Texas. But Gavin Newsom knows that that's not enough. The hatred of Donald Trump, the example of what's happening in Texas is still not enough. What Newsom needs is he needs to lie to voters on their own ballot. If you notice, the language on this initiative has already been revealed. You've seen it. We've seen it. They have been poll testing for weeks what language to use on the ballot to deceive California voters. That language somehow suggests that it's going to be an initiative to preserve independent redistricting. That is an unadulterated lie. They are lying to voters on the ballot by claiming, therefore, independent redistricting, when in fact, these politicians are trying to seize back power from the citizens to once again manipulate the districts. We had decades of redistricting shenanigans in California, and California voters rightfully said, enough is enough, no more games. They took it out of the hands of the politicians and gave it to an independent commission of citizens. What you're seeing play out right here, right now, is why the voters took the power away from the politicians. We now have evidence that 3 sitting legislators have traded their vote for a seat in Congress with this corrupt deal. You know it in the press corps, and we know it. This is vote rigging happening inside our legislature, and for goodness sakes, we need a federal investigation of this entire process, because it is absolutely corrupt to the core. That is why we must put an end to this right now. This should not even go any further. It is a violation of the state constitution for politicians to be involved in redistricting, full stop. It is a direct violation to be drawing maps with partisan goals. This map was submitted by the most partisan group you can get, the Democrat Campaign Committee for the Congressional Democrats. On the face of this is illegal, it is a waste of money, and I'm encouraging at least a few Democrat lawmakers to do the right thing. Uphold your oath to the state constitution and stop violating it. I hold out hope that they will do that before Thursday, but on the off chance that they don't, I believe that not only will voters reject this corrupt seizing of power from the citizens in the November election, but more importantly, there needs to be a consequence for bad behavior and corrupt bargaining. That is why I believe ultimately these legislators who vote for this corrupt deal will be told by the voters eventually that they are not wanted in office anymore. And it won't just be district by district. I believe that if these politicians want to draw the lines, and they should be subject to the same cooling off period, and they should be banned from seeking any office in California for 10 years. If they vote on this corrupt deal this week, I'm going to spend every single day defeating it at the ballot box, but more importantly, I will make sure that that 10-year cooling off period applies to them as well.
I can hold it. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we will be having our elections meeting at 10:30 tomorrow, something that you knew before I, as the vice chair, knew. On my walk over to the Capitol at noon today, there was still nothing on my member portal letting me know that this would be happening tomorrow. Additionally, I received a text message at 8 o'clock this morning informing me that the language was available. On that language, it showed Democrat co-authors on the bills, meaning that our Democrat colleagues got a first look at all of this, and they gave me barely 24 hours before committee tomorrow to prepare. So let me warn anybody who will be testifying tomorrow. If you don't answer my questions tomorrow, attorneys will be making sure you answer them in a courtroom. You can run, but you cannot hide. And we are not backing down from this fight. You are disenfranchising Californians, and we are tired of democracy dying here. We will fight back. We are in the super minority, but we are effective, and we will defeat this. If it's not here in the Capitol, it will be in a courtroom, or it will be at the ballot box.
Everyone, this is really simple what's going on right now. You have political elitists, powerful politicians that are taking power away from the people, taking power away from communities. Communities like mine. With these maps, the Santa Clarita Valley will have 3 different congressional members. The Antelope Valley will have 5 different congressional members. My community's voters, by the hundreds of thousands, reached out, sent letters, made calls to the Redistricting Commission, asking them to keep key communities of interest together. That, with these maps, go away. This fight is not a Republican fight, a Democrat fight, a Green Party fight. This is about the voice of the people. And we are not going to stand idly by and allow them to weaken and dilute our voice. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think that's all we have. We'll answer any questions quickly, but we got to go to session here. Yeah, go ahead.
We heard from Democrats saying that the Republicans, there was this consternation over gerrymandering and Texas announced it's there. Can you speak to your feelings about how Texas is addressing this?
Yeah, we have called it out, and as I just said, we're introducing legislation today that would call for every state to have independent redistricting. So we're saying that should be the case in Texas. It should be the case here. But you don't abandon your principle here in California, and that's what Gavin Newsom is saying when he says fight fire with fire. He means that, hey, we should gerrymander everywhere. And it's only going to continue the process, right? We're going to see other states do the same thing. So let's take the high ground here in California and say, we have a good process. It's citizen-led. It has all kinds of public input. Let's not replace it with this joke. 3 days? 3 days for people to weigh in? And you quickly pass it and you send it off to the voters and in a very small streamlined timeline before the election, when normally you would have much more time for voters to look at it. That's not transparency. It's not the right way to do it.
Wait. Hold on. One other issue on that. I think most Californians learned from their mom or in kindergarten that 2 wrongs don't make a right. California is doing redistricting right. The citizens seized back control of the power from the politicians in 2010. And let me be very clear. Gavin Newsom and other politicians have been lying in wait, with emphasis on lying, to seize back the power from the people. And they are using Texas as just the window dressing, the excuse to seize back control. Voters are going to reject this. They're going to see it for what it is. But Gavin Newsom is a bald-faced liar. He is a bully. And he needs to be stopped in this process in the legislature, or we need to stop him at the ballot box.
Why don't you guys go to rally?
Yes. No, there will be 2 lawsuits filed this week, and there will be a multitude of other lawsuits. But we ultimately believe that if this goes to the voters, it'll be a waste of $250 million at a time when we have a budget deficit, and the voters will ultimately reject it. But I am not willing to stop there. There needs to be a penalty for bad behavior in this building. These people always believe that, well, we'll call a special election, the voters reject it, it's no harm on us. There will be a harm. If they vote for this, it is my objective, I am going to be seeking a 10-year ban on anyone, whether the voters reject it or accept it, a 10-year ban on anyone who tries to seize control back from the voters. There needs to be a penalty for corruption in the state of California, and the penalty is you're not allowed to run for office for 10 years.
Well, and I'm Assemblyman Tongapaw, and that's a question that actually we need the media to expose. What kicked off this entire redistricting portion, and what happened in Texas? Texas was sued by far-left groups, and they have a legal basis to change their maps. What California is doing here is a response to that. It's not that they don't like the redistricting, it's that they don't like the results of their lawsuit. They opened the door. Look into the Elias group. Look into what happened in Texas. That's what's kicked off this redistricting war. Not Republicans, not the president, not anybody else. A far-left progressive group sued the state of Texas. forcing Texas to redraw the maps. What California is doing is playing corruption and using issues in other states to rig our own elections. There is no legal basis to it, and the media needs to expose that. That's what's happening in Texas, not the same conditions that we have here. California voters already spoke. They said we want our districts to be in an independent, fair commission, and we set that. When other states do this, it's not our job to react what other states are doing. It's our job to be better. And instead, this governor is dragging us down instead of showing us by example on what to do. That's your legislative body here. That's the supermajority in Sacramento. They're the ones saying, we'll bring you down when we believe others don't do what we want, instead of showing by example that we can do it better. What me and this other group of assembly members is saying, let's prove to the rest of the nation how the fair redistricting process in California is better than anywhere else.
Are any of you planning on calling on the president directly to pull off his efforts in Texas? Wouldn't that kind of
look, our resolution makes it very clear that we think every state should have independent redistricting, and that's going to be introduced today.
I would like to, hold on, I'm sorry. I would like, just really quick, so we're clear. We as Republicans, at least myself, I've already called on that, and I've already said what would be more constructive is Kevin Kiley has a bill right now in Congress saying no mid-district, no mid-decade redistricting anywhere in the country. My understanding is Nancy Pelosi was here, and instead of doing this power grab in California, she should unite and get as many Democrats to sign on that bill, make it a bipartisan bill in Congress to say no more mid-decade redistricting anywhere in the country.
Assemblymember DeMaio, you said yes on the lawsuit. Can you detail what legal grounds you might be looking at for this if the voters ultimately approve it?
Look, there are so many violations of the state constitution and state and federal law in this corrupt scheme. They don't even care about the rules. Because you know what? They've never been held accountable. Might makes right to the supermajority politicians in Sacramento. And the only way to stop them ultimately is going to be, I believe, at the ballot box. And that'll not only be by rejecting this scheme, but by punishing them so they never do this again. These politicians are putting our state through a political circus in order to seize power for themselves. You have vote trading going on here. You have a violation of the state constitution literally on multiple fronts. And there needs to be a penalty. But they are used to never paying a price in California politics. Well, that's going to end on this fight. Because not only in a federal courtroom, but state courtrooms who are going to litigate this every step of the way. But we believe that this will also be rejected at the ballot box in the court of public opinion. Yes, we have been talking to attorneys and various coalitions about a multitude of legal challenges to this. But the sad thing is that as Gavin Newsom creates this assault on democracy and sideshow, what are we not doing? He's not addressing the cost of living crisis in California. He's not addressing the homelessness crisis in California. He's not dealing with failing schools in California. Every issue that matters to Californians has been put to the side so that he and other politicians can seize back power from the citizens so that they can continue to climb the office ladder. Make no mistake about it, the reason why we're here today is Governor Gavin Newsom's failing presidential campaign needs a little boost and free earned media. This guy has failed his state and he wants to create a sideshow so that he can run for president. And several of our colleagues want to run for Congress, so they want new districts to be drawn so they walk right into a congressional seat. That's what's mattering to them. That's their priority, is their political office, not what happens to the price of gas or your mortgage or your price of your rent. This is shameful what's happening. If we stop it in court, fine, but more than likely it'll have to be stopped at the ballot box.
Okay, Steve, and then we got to go. We got to get to the floor. Go ahead.
We're suing on a number of fronts. Stay tuned.
Say that again, Steve. No, I don't believe you should, but we're also going to be talking about that. There needs to be a fair writing of that ballot title and summary. This does not retain, the Citizens Redistricting Commission. They're already saying that this retains it. If it retains it, then why aren't they drawing the lines, right, for 2026, for 2028? for 2030. It absolutely does not do that, and we are not going to stand by and let them lie about what this initiative
And Rob
actually
Bonta,
does.
make no mistake about it. The Attorney General of the state of California is not going to be writing the ballot title. It was written by a political consultant and poll tested in focus groups and polling. You've already seen it. You've already seen the screenshot from that poll where it shows 52% of Californians might be duped into voting for this. I had to deal with this in the gas tax repeal in 2018. A similar ballot title that was absolutely false and misleading. And let me tell you right now,
47.
we are going to see voters get angry that they are being lied to on their ballot. But make no mistake, the AG is not writing this ballot title. Some slick political consultant got paid a lot of money to wordsmith it with focus groups. We're going to sue on that ballot title, but ultimately the voters are going to reject it because they're going to see that they're being lied to.
So we'll be fighting this week, and we believe the voters will be with us at the end of the day. So we got to go on the floor now. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're doing great. Brooks, I'm going to use that. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, it's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Eitan, I want you to ask about the original lawsuit. It's not like it's well also was initiated by Texas.
Well, that's the thing. Why aren't we reporting on Lulac v. Abbott? That's the name of the case.